The sky above Seoul burned with alien fire. Captain Lee Dae-ho gripped the command chair of his battleship as another wave of crystalline vessels tore through Earth's defense grid. His ship, the Seoul's Pride, shook under the impact of energy, weapons that turned steel into vapor. "Sir, we've lost contact with the Luna base," reported his communications officer, her voice tight with fear. "The Beijing fleet is gone. We're the last ones." Dae-ho stared at the tactical display. Red dots marked enemy ships, thousands of them. Blue dots marked human vessels. Only 12 remained from the 300 that had started this battle. 3 days ago, the galactic hegemony had come to Earth with overwhelming force, and humanity was losing badly. "Keep firing," Dae-ho ordered. "Every shot counts." Down on Earth's surface, the war was just as desperate. Park Min-soo crawled through the rubble of what used to be the Seoul Defense Complex. Explosions echoed above him as alien bombers destroyed everything humans had built. His engineering station was buried under tons of concrete, but he could still hear the emergency power systems humming somewhere in the darkness. Min-soo had spent 10 years designing Earth's planetary shields. He knew every circuit, every power, relay. If he could reach the main control room, maybe he could boost the shield generators one last time. Maybe he could buy the evacuation ships a few more hours. He pulled himself through a gap in the debris, ignoring the pain in his broken ribs. Behind him, he could hear the screams of people trapped in the collapse, but ahead there might still be hope. 3 blocks away, Kim Na-ri ran through the burning streets of Seoul's government district. Her special forces team was down to just 5 soldiers, but they had a mission. The alien ground forces, tall insect-like creatures with 4 arms and acid weapons, were pushing toward the civilian shelters. Someone had to stop them. "There!" Nari pointed to a group of aliens setting up some kind of cannon. "Take them down before they can use that thing." Her team moved like shadows through the smoke. Nari had trained for urban combat her whole adult life, but she had never imagined fighting aliens on Earth's soil. The enemy was fast and strong, but they didn't know human tactics. They didn't expect humans to fight dirty. She threw a grenade into their position and watched the aliens scatter. Her rifle picked off 2 more before they could react, but for every alien they killed, 10 more seemed to take their place. High above the chaos, young pilot Choi Hyun-woo flew his fighter through a maze of alien ships. His squadron had been destroyed an hour ago. His fuel was almost gone, but he couldn't stop fighting, not while his family was somewhere down there in the burning city. Hyun-woo's fighter was fast, but the alien ships were faster. Their weapons were more powerful. Their armor was stronger. The only advantage humans had was that they refused to give up, even when defeat was certain. He locked onto an alien bomber and fired his last missiles. The explosion lit up the sky, but 3 more bombers flew past him toward the residential districts. Toward his home. "This is Seoul Defense Command," a voice crackled over his radio. "All fighters return to base immediately. We're abandoning the planet." Hyun-woo's heart sank. Abandoning Earth meant leaving everyone behind. It meant his family would die under alien bombs. But his fighter was damaged, his weapons were empty, and he could see massive alien ships moving into position over every major city. Back on the Seoul's Pride, Captain Dae-ho received the same message. Earth's government was surrendering. The evacuation ships would take maybe 50,000 people to the colony worlds. Everyone else, billions of humans, would be left to face whatever the aliens had planned. "Sir, incoming transmission from the alien flagship," his communications officer reported. The main screen flickered, then showed a creature that looked like it was made of living crystal. Its voice sounded like breaking glass when it spoke. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Admiral Velcros of the Galactic Hegemony. Your resistance ends now. Surrender your weapons and prepare for processing. Those who cooperate will be relocated to serve the greater galactic community. Those who resist will be eliminated." Deho knew what processing meant. The hegemony didn't conquer planets to make friends. They conquered them to make slaves. "This is Captain Lee Deho of the Earth Defense Force," he replied. "Earth surrenders, but we demand protection for civilians under galactic law." The crystal alien laughed, a sound like shattering ice. "Earth has no rights under galactic law. You are a pre-spaceflight species that somehow developed weapons above your level. This will be corrected." The transmission ended. Around Earth, the alien fleet moved into position for what came next. In the ruins of Seoul, Park Min-soo finally reached the defense complex's main computer. The building was gone, but the underground systems still had power. His fingers flew over the controls as he tried to send one last message to Earth's colonies, a warning about what was coming. Kim Nari and her team were pinned down in a subway station. Alien soldiers surrounded them on all sides. She could hear their acid weapons melting through the barricades her team had built. In a few minutes, it would be over. She thought about her training, about all the scenarios they had practiced. None of them had prepared her for this, for watching her world die while hiding in a hole in the ground. Pilot Choi Hyun-woo guided his damaged fighter toward the landing bay of an evacuation ship. Through his cockpit window, he could see Seoul burning below. Somewhere in that fire was his apartment building, where his parents and younger sister had been waiting for the all-clear signal that would never come. The evacuation ship was already overloaded. Thousands of people crowded into spaces meant for hundreds. But at least these few would survive to tell the story of Earth's last day as a free world. Captain Deho watched his crew prepare escape pods. The Soul's pride would never fly again, but maybe his people could reach the evacuation ships. Maybe they could warn the colonies about the hegemony's true intentions. As the first alien ships landed in Seoul's ruins, the four men who had fought so hard to save their world were separated by chaos and defeat. They didn't know each other's names. They didn't know they would meet again someday. All they knew was that Earth had fallen, and humanity's darkest hour was just beginning. The crystal. Ships of the hegemony settled over Earth like a plague, and the age of human freedom came to an end. 4 years had passed since Earth burned. 4 years since freedom died, and chains took its place. Lee Deho swung his mining hammer against the crystal wall of the Kepler 442b dilithium mine. Each strike sent vibrations through his arms, but he didn't stop. Around him, 200 other humans worked in the same rhythm, their movements tracked by floating alien sensors that would punish any sign of laziness with electric shocks. The mine stretched deep into the planet's core, where precious dilithium crystals powered the hegemony's war machine. The air was thin and hot. The gravity was wrong, too heavy, making every step feel like walking through mud. But Deho had learned to survive. "Keep the pace steady," he whispered to the man working next to him. The alien guards couldn't hear them over the noise of the machines, but they had to be careful. "Remember what I taught you about energy conservation?" The other miner nodded. Deho had been teaching the humans how to work smart instead of hard, how to save their strength for what mattered. The aliens thought they were breaking human spirits with endless labor. They didn't realize they were creating an army. Every night in the cramped slave barracks, Daeho held quiet meetings. He drew maps in the dirt, showing guard positions and escape routes. He taught combat techniques using mining tools as weapons. Most importantly, he kept hope alive when everything seemed hopeless. "The colonies are still free," he would tell them. "Someday, we'll see Earth again." On the other side of the galaxy, Park Min-soo crawled through the maintenance tunnels of Proxima Centauri C's main industrial complex. His job was to fix alien machines when they broke down, which happened more often than the hegemony liked to admit. The irony wasn't lost on him. The aliens had enslaved humanity because they thought humans were primitive, but human engineering was often better than alien technology. Min-soo had learned to read hegemony technical manuals, and he was amazed by how inefficient their systems were. Today he was supposed to repair a quantum processor that controlled the factory's power grid. The alien supervisor, a slug-like creature, with 6 eyes, had screamed at him for an hour about how important this repair was. The factory needed to meet its production quota, or heads would roll. Min-soo smiled as he worked. The supervisor didn't know that this was the 15th breakdown Min-soo had secretly caused in the past month. Each failure slowed production and made the aliens look incompetent to their superiors. But more than sabotage, Min-soo was learning. Every machine he fixed taught him something new about alien technology. He was building a mental library of knowledge that might someday prove useful. If humans ever got the chance to fight back, they would need every advantage they could get. He finished the repair, but added a small modification that would cause another failure in exactly 3 weeks. The aliens would never find it. They didn't understand their own technology well enough. Across the galaxy on Vega Prime, Kim Nari stood in the gladiator arena, facing a creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. The crowd of alien spectators cheered as the beast charged at her with razor-sharp claws. Nari rolled to the side and struck with the energy spear they had given her. The weapon was designed to wound, not kill. The aliens wanted their entertainment to last. But Nari had learned to use any weapon effectively, even one designed to handicap her. The beast roared and swung its massive paw. Nari ducked under the attack and drove her spear into its shoulder joint. The crowd went wild as the creature stumbled, purple blood dripping onto the arena sand. Fighting in the pits was supposed to break the human spirit through violence and humiliation. Instead, it had given Nari something precious: knowledge. She had fought dozens of alien species over the past 4 years. She knew their weaknesses, their fighting styles, their fears. The bear lizard charged again. This time, Nari was ready. She planted her spear in the ground and used it as a vault, launching herself over the creature's head. As she landed behind it, she grabbed a handful of sand and threw it into the beast's eyes. The alien crowd booed. They considered this dishonorable fighting, but Nari didn't care about alien honor. She cared about survival and learning everything she could about her enemies. After the fight, she was returned to the gladiator cells where other human fighters waited. Nari used this time to teach them what she had learned, every technique, every weakness, every piece of intelligence that might help them survive another day. "The insect warriors from Rigel can't see well in bright light," she told a new arrival. "If you're fighting one of them, try to stay near the arena lights." "What about the crystal soldiers?" asked another gladiator. "Sonic attacks work well against them. If you can make the right frequency with your weapon, their whole body structure becomes unstable." Meanwhile, high above on the hegemony flagship, Cosmic Dominion, Choi Hyun-woo cleaned the floors of the command deck. His job was to be invisible, just another human slave maintaining the ship that had destroyed his world. But being invisible had advantages. Hyun-woo could go anywhere on the ship without the aliens paying attention to him. He had learned their language by listening to their conversations. He knew their daily routines, their security procedures, their military protocols. Most importantly, he had access to their computer systems when he cleaned the technical stations. The aliens were careless about data security around slaves. They never imagined that a primitive human could understand their quantum encryption codes. Hyun-woo had been building a mental map of the entire hegemony fleet structure. He knew which ships carried the most powerful weapons, which commanders were competent, which star systems were lightly defended. Information that might be vital if humans ever got the chance to strike back. Today, while cleaning around the navigation console, he overheard something important. Admiral Velcross was talking to his staff about a new weapon system, something called a quantum disruptor that could disable entire fleets at once. Hyun-woo pretended to focus on his cleaning while memorizing every detail. The weapon was still being tested. But if it worked, the hegemony would be unstoppable, unless someone found a way to counter it first. As he worked, Hyun-woo thought about his family, dead these 4 years, about Earth, enslaved and broken, about the hundreds of millions of humans scattered across the galaxy in chains. But he also thought about the intelligence he was gathering, the weaknesses he was discovering, the other humans who were surely doing the same thing on other ships and other worlds. The aliens thought they had won. They thought humanity was finished. But they had made a mistake. They had kept humans alive, and humans had a talent for learning from their enemies. In mines and factories, in fighting pits and starships, humans were watching and waiting. They were gathering strength and knowledge and hope. The hegemony had 4 years to enjoy their victory. They didn't know that every day of slavery was teaching their victims exactly how to destroy them. 4 years in chains. But chains could be broken if you knew how to use the right tools. And humans were very good at finding the right tools. Park Min-soo had always been good with computers, but the alien quantum system in front of him was unlike anything he had ever seen. The crystalline matrix pulsed with energy patterns that seemed to shift and change based on the user's thoughts. For weeks he had been trying to understand how it worked. The breakthrough came by accident. While running a diagnostic on the main processor, Min-soo touched the interface with his bare hand instead of using the alien control device. Suddenly, the entire system responded to him in ways it had never responded to its alien operators. Data flowed through his mind like water. He could see the quantum pathways, feel the energy flows, understand the underlying mathematics in a way that seemed impossible. The alien supervisors had always been frustrated by how slowly their quantum computers worked. But under Min-soo's touch, the system processed information 10 times faster than normal. Min-soo realized something incredible. Human brains work differently than alien brains. Where other species had to use mechanical interfaces to communicate with quantum systems, humans could connect directly. It was like the difference between shouting across a crowded room and having a quiet conversation face to face. He tested his theory carefully over the next few days. Every time he touched the system, it responded better. Complex calculations that took hours for alien operators were completed in minutes when Min-soo interfaced directly. He was not just using the computer, he was becoming part of it. But this discovery came with danger. If the aliens learned what humans could do, they might decide humanity was too valuable to be used as simple labor. Or worse, they might decide. Humans were too dangerous to be kept alive at all. Minsu began sending coded messages through the factory's communication system. Hidden in routine maintenance reports, he embedded information about his discovery and sent it to other human workers across the galaxy. The code was based on old Earth military protocols that only humans would recognize. His first message reached Lee Dae-ho in the dilithium mines. Dae-ho had learned to read between the lines of official communications, and Minsu's hidden message made his pulse race. If humans could interface with alien quantum systems, it changed everything. The second message reached Kim Nari in the gladiator pits. She understood immediately what this meant for combat applications. Alien weapons, alien shields, alien navigation. Systems, all could potentially be turned against their creators by human operators. The third message reached Choi Hyun-woo on the flagship. As he read the coded words hidden in a power system status report, he realized that humanity might have found its path to freedom. But Minsu's activities didn't go unnoticed for long. Overseer Krillvex was a particularly intelligent Veltar who had been watching the human engineer with growing suspicion. The factory's productivity had increased dramatically since Minsu started working on the quantum systems, which should have been impossible for a primitive species. Krillvex decided to investigate. He hid sensors around Minsu's workstation and monitored his activities. What he saw shocked him. The human was interfacing directly with quantum systems in ways that even advanced Veltar scientists couldn't achieve. The Overseer also noticed the strange communication patterns in Minsu's reports. When he ran them through a decryption matrix, he discovered the hidden messages. The human wasn't just accidentally interfacing with quantum systems, he was deliberately sharing this ability with other humans across the galaxy. Krillvex realized he had uncovered something that could threaten the entire hegemony. If humans could control alien technology better than aliens themselves, they could turn the galaxy's own weapons against its rulers. This discovery had to be stopped immediately. Minsu was working on a power coupling when the security team surrounded him. Krillvex's crystalline form reflected the workshop lights as he approached, his voice like grinding stones. "Human engineer," the Overseer said. "You will come with us. Your recent activities require explanation." Minsu's heart raced, but he tried to look confused. "I don't understand. Have I done something wrong with the repairs?" "You have been sending unauthorized communications through our systems," Krillvex replied. "You will tell us what these messages contain and who received them." They dragged Minsu to an interrogation chamber deep beneath the factory. The room was filled with devices designed to extract information from unwilling subjects. Krillvex activated a neural probe that could read thoughts directly from organic brains. "Tell me about the quantum interface phenomenon," the Overseer demanded. "How are you able to control our systems with such efficiency?" Minsu tried to resist, but the neural probe was too powerful. Information flowed from his mind against his will. Krillvex learned about the human ability to interface with quantum systems, about the coded messages, about the growing network of human resistance across the galaxy. But most terrifying of all, the probe revealed how many humans were involved. The resistance wasn't just a few isolated groups. It was hundreds of thousands of slaves who had been secretly preparing for rebellion. Krillvex transmitted his findings to Hegemony Command immediately. Within hours, the news reached every military commander in the galaxy. Humans weren't just slaves. They were a hidden army with the ability to turn alien technology against its creators. The Hegemony's response was swift and brutal. Across dozens of star systems, human slaves were rounded up and executed without trial. Any human who had shown unusual technical ability was killed immediately. Security around the remaining slaves was increased tenfold. In the dilithium mines, Lee Dae-ho watched in horror as alien soldiers gunned down 200 humans suspected of resistance activities. The bodies were left in the main tunnel as a warning to the survivors. In the gladiator pits, Kim Na-ri saw her fellow fighters dragged away in chains. Some were executed immediately. Others were sent to isolated detention centers where they would never be able to communicate with other humans again. On the flagship, Choi Hyun-woo heard Admiral Velcross discussing Operation Final Solution with his senior staff. The hegemony had decided that humans were too dangerous to be kept alive. Every human slave in the galaxy would be eliminated within 30 standard days. The discovery that should have been humanity's greatest hope had become their death sentence. The resistance network that had taken 4 years to build was being systematically destroyed. In a few weeks, there would be no humans left anywhere in the galaxy. But Krillvex had made one critical error during his interrogation of Min-Soo. The neural probe worked both ways. While it extracted information from the human's mind, it also allowed Min-Soo to access the hegemony's communication networks directly. In those few seconds of connection, Min-Soo had done something unprecedented. He had uploaded a quantum virus into the hegemony's central computer systems, a virus designed specifically to exploit the quantum interfaces that only human minds could control. The virus lay dormant in the networks, waiting for activation. It would need a human operator with access to a powerful transmission array to trigger it. But if someone could reach the right system at the right time, the virus could turn the entire hegemony communication network into a weapon against its creators. Min-Soo died under torture without revealing this final secret. But his last act had given humanity one desperate chance at survival, 30 days to live. But humans had never been very good at accepting defeat. Even when defeat seemed certain, the spark had been lit. Now it remained to be seen if it would grow into a flame that could burn through the galaxy's chains. Choi Hyun-woo moved through the darkened corridors of the cosmic dominion like a ghost. It was 0530 Galactic Standard Time, 30 minutes before the shift change that would give him access to the flagship's main communication array. In 30 minutes, he would either save humanity or die trying. He had spent the last week memorizing guard rotations and security protocols. The quantum virus that Min-Soo had hidden in the hegemony networks was still there, waiting for activation. But triggering it required access to a Class A military transmitter, and the flagship had the most powerful transmitter in the entire alien fleet. The communication deck was guarded by 2 Veltar soldiers, but they were focused on external threats, not on a human maintenance slave. Hyun-woo had cleaned this section hundreds of times. The guards barely noticed him as he began his routine work, mopping floors and emptying waste containers. At exactly 0600, he made his move. While the guards were distracted by a shift change report, Hyun-woo slipped behind the main communication console and pressed his hand against the quantum interface. Immediately, his mind connected with the ship's vast network. The sensation was overwhelming. Information flowed through his consciousness like a river of fire. He could feel the communication links stretching across the galaxy, connecting thousands of ships and millions of aliens. But hidden in the data streams, he found what he was looking for. Min-Soo's quantum virus, dormant but ready. Hyun-woo activated the virus and uploaded everything the Resistance had learned over 4 years of slavery. The location of every human slave in the galaxy, the weaknesses of alien technology, the military codes he had memorized, the quantum interface techniques that Minsu had discovered. All of it transmitted simultaneously to every hidden receiver in the human resistance network. On Kepler 442b, Lee Dae-ho was supervising the morning shift in the dilithium mines when his concealed communicator buzzed with an incoming transmission. The message was brief but clear. The final battle was beginning. Now! Dae-ho looked around the mining tunnel. 200 human slaves worked under the supervision of 20 alien guards. The guards had energy weapons and armor. The humans had mining tools and 4 years of suppressed rage. Code 7. Dae-ho whispered to the nearest worker, using the phrase they had practiced for this moment. The message spread through the mine in seconds. Human workers slowly moved into position, surrounding their guards. The aliens didn't notice anything unusual until it was too late. When Dae-ho gave the signal, the uprising began. Mining hammers became weapons. Cutting tools became instruments of war. The aliens were outnumbered 10-1, and they had never expected their docile slaves to fight with such coordinated fury. The battle was over in minutes. Human workers stripped weapons and armor from the fallen guards, then moved to secure the mine's control center. Dae-ho's military training took over as he organized his people into combat units. Teams Alpha and Beta secure the surface installations, he ordered. Team Gamma, take the communication center. Team Delta, seize the landing platforms. We need to capture their ships before they can call for reinforcement. On Vega Prime, Kim Nari received the transmission while preparing for another day in the gladiator arena. She looked around at the 50 other human fighters who shared her cell block. These weren't ordinary slaves. They were warriors who had been kept alive for alien entertainment. Now it was time to entertain themselves. The arena was designed to contain violent spectacles, not prevent escape. Nari and her fighters knew every weakness in the security system. They had been planning this breakout for months, waiting for the right moment. When the guard brought their morning meal, Nari struck. The alien never saw the attack coming. Within seconds, the humans had his weapons and access codes. They moved through the arena complex like a military strike team, which was exactly what they had become. The gladiator pits connected to the planetary communication hub through underground service tunnels. Instead of escaping to the surface, Nari led her team toward the communication center. If they could control planetary communications, they could coordinate uprising across the entire world. The hub was defended by elite hegemony security forces, but Nari's gladiators had fought alien warriors for years. They knew how to exploit every weakness, how to turn superior strength into a disadvantage. The battle was savage but brief. This is Liberation Command to all human resistance cells. Nari broadcast from the captured hub. The signal has been given. Rise up and fight. Today, we break our chains forever. Back on the cosmic dominion, Choi Hyun-woo's intrusion had finally been detected. Alarms blared throughout the ship as security teams rushed toward the communication deck. But Hyun-woo's transmission was already complete. The virus was spreading through the hegemony network like wildfire. He drew an energy pistol taken from an unconscious guard and prepared to fight his way to the ship's quantum core. If he could reach the main computer center, he might be able to do more than just send messages. He might be able to take control of the entire flagship. The corridors became a war zone as human maintenance crews throughout the ship joined the rebellion. They had been waiting for this signal for 4 years. Cleaning equipment became weapons. Maintenance tools became instruments of sabotage. The aliens had never imagined that their own ship could be turned against them from within. Hyunwoo fought his way through 3 security checkpoints, using knowledge gained from years of watching alien tactical procedures. The ship's corridors were designed for formation combat, not individual infiltration. Every shortcut and service passage that he had learned as a maintenance slave now became a strategic advantage. Admiral Velcros appeared on the ship's communications screens, his crystalline features twisted with rage. All security teams converge on the quantum core. Do not allow the human to reach the main computer. But it was too late. Hyunwoo had already reached the quantum core chamber. The massive crystalline structure pulsed with energy that controlled every system on the ship. When he placed his hands on the interface, his consciousness merged with the flagship's entire network. Through the quantum connection, he could see the rebellion spreading across the galaxy. On 47 different worlds, human slaves were breaking free of their chains. Mining facilities were falling to coordinated uprisings. Factory worlds were shutting down as human workers turned their tools into weapons. Even on core hegemony worlds, maintenance slaves were sabotaging critical systems. The aliens had made a fatal error. They had scattered humans across their entire empire, giving them access to every important facility. They had forced humans to learn alien technology and procedures. Most critically, they had assumed that scattered slaves could never coordinate a simultaneous rebellion. They were wrong. Humans excelled at coordination, especially when their survival depended on it. Hyunwoo began uploading new control codes to human resistance cells across the galaxy. Every ship, every weapon system, every communication relay that humans could access was being turned against the hegemony. The aliens' own technology was becoming the instrument of their defeat. Through the quantum link, he could feel the moment when the balance shifted. The hegemony had superior numbers and firepower, but they were losing the technological war. Human operators were seizing control of alien systems faster than the aliens could respond. On Kepler 442b, Daeho's rebels had captured 3 hegemony warships and were using them to attack the orbital defense platforms. The mining equipment had been converted into improvised weapons that could crack alien armor. On Vega Prime, Nari's gladiator army had broken out of the arena complex and was leading a planet-wide uprising. Alien security forces were falling, back on all fronts, overwhelmed by rebels who fought with the fury of the long oppressed. Across the galaxy, the impossible was happening. A species that had been enslaved and scattered was rising up as one. The chains were breaking, and the sound of their breaking echoed through every star system in hegemony space. The day of liberation had begun, and humanity intended to finish what the aliens had started 4 years ago. The hegemony had built their empire on a simple principle: superior technology equals absolute control. But as reports flooded in from across the galaxy, their leaders began to understand a terrible truth. Technology was only as strong as the people who controlled it, and humans were proving to be far better at controlling it than anyone had imagined. Admiral Velcros stood in the command center of his crippled flagship, watching his empire collapse in real time. Red warning lights flashed as system after system fell under human control. The Cosmic Dominion, pride of the hegemony fleet, was being operated by a human slave who understood its quantum systems better than its original designers. "Report," he demanded, his crystalline voice sharp with frustration. "Sir, we've lost contact with the Rigel mining stations. The humans have taken control of the orbital defense platforms and are using them against our patrol fleets." "What about the factory worlds?" 17 industrial planets have gone dark. The humans are shutting down production and converting the facilities into weapons manufacturing centers. They're building things we've never seen before. Velcros felt something he had never experienced in his long military career: fear. The humans weren't just escaping, they were winning. On Kepler 442b, Lee Dae-ho coordinated the liberation fleet from the command bridge of a captured hegemony destroyer. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was using alien ships to free alien slaves, many of whom were now helping humanity fight their former masters. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Proxima Centauri Industrial Complex," his communications officer reported. It was strange to hear that title applied to him again after 4 years of slavery, but natural leadership was hard to suppress. The screen showed a familiar face: Park Min-soo's assistant engineer, a woman named Lee Ji-hai, who had worked closely with him before his capture. She had escaped during the initial uprising and taken control of the factory's quantum manufacturing systems. "Dae-ho, thank the ancestors you're alive," she said. "We've got something you need to see." Min-soo left, detailed plans hidden in the quantum systems. He wasn't just learning alien technology, he was improving it. "Show me," Dae-ho replied. The data that followed made his heart race. Min-soo had used his final weeks to design weapons specifically tailored to exploit alien weaknesses. Energy, rifles that could disrupt crystalline biology, shield generators that were invisible to hegemony sensors. Most incredible of all, quantum torpedoes that could turn an enemy ship's own power core into a bomb. "How long to manufacture these?" Dae-ho asked. "The automated systems are already producing them." Min-soo programmed the entire production line before his death. "We'll have enough weapons to arm 50,000 fighters within 6 hours. Dae-ho smiled grimly. Even in death, Min-soo was still engineering humanity's victory. Across the galaxy on Vega Prime, Kim Na-ri led a very different kind of battle. Her gladiator army had grown to include thousands of rebels from across the planet. Not just humans, but members of other species who had suffered under hegemony rule. The arena had become a symbol of resistance. Nari stood on the same sand, where she had been forced to fight for alien entertainment, but now she was broadcasting rebellion across the sector. "This is General Kim Na-ri of the Liberation Army," she announced, the title feeling strange but right. "To all slaves, all oppressed peoples, all who have suffered under the hegemony, today we fight back. Today we show them that strength isn't about technology or numbers. It's about the will to be free." Her words reached dozens of worlds where non-human slaves had been watching the human uprising with growing hope. The hegemony had oppressed many species, but humans were the first to successfully organize resistance on a galactic scale. Reports came in of coordinated uprisings on Zeta Reticuli, where the insect-like Cathara had been enslaved for centuries. On Wolf 359, the amphibian Aquari were attacking their overseers with help from human technical specialists. The rebellion was spreading beyond humanity to include every species that had suffered under hegemony rule. The cascade effect was accelerating. Each victory brought more allies, more resources, more momentum. The hegemony was discovering that their empire had been built on foundations of sand. Meanwhile, Choi Hyun-woo had completed his conquest of the cosmic dominion. The flagship's quantum core now responded to his thoughts as naturally as his own body. Through the ship's sensors, he could monitor the entire galactic conflict in real time. What he saw amazed him. Human resistance cells weren't just fighting individual battles. They were operating as a coordinated military force across dozens of star systems. 4 years of slavery had given humanity something they had never possessed before: perfect knowledge of their enemies' weaknesses. The hegemony had made humans fix their machines, operate their systems, maintain their ships. In doing so, they had given humans access to every technical secret, every strategic vulnerability, every critical system in their empire. Hyunwoo used the flagship's quantum communicators to coordinate the liberation forces. He could see which battles needed reinforcement, which systems were about to fall, which alien commanders were most vulnerable to psychological pressure. "Attention all liberation forces," he broadcast. "This is Admiral Choi Hyun-woo aboard the captured flagship, Unbreakable Will." The name change felt appropriate. The ship that had symbolized alien domination was now the symbol of human defiance. Intelligence reports indicate the Hegemony Council is meeting an emergency session on their capital world of Veltar Prime. They're preparing to deploy superweapons rather than accept defeat. We need to accelerate our timetable. The response was immediate. Human forces across the galaxy began pushing harder, taking greater risks, accepting higher casualties to prevent the aliens from regrouping. They had learned from their enslavement that the hegemony would rather destroy everything than accept defeat. On Veltar Prime, the crystalline leaders of the hegemony gathered in their quantum palace, their forms flickering with angry energy. Fleet Admiral Kriegsvol, supreme commander of all hegemony forces, addressed the council with growing desperation. "The humans have turned our own technology against us," he reported. "They understand our systems better than we do. Worse, they're improving our designs in ways we never thought possible." "How is this possible?" demanded Counselor Velnara. "They were a pre-spaceflight species 4 years ago." "That's exactly why they're so dangerous," Krixavol replied. "We taught them everything. We forced them to learn our technology, our tactics, our weaknesses. We scattered them across our empire and gave them access to our most sensitive facilities. We created the perfect enemy." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The hegemony had engineered their own destruction through 4 years of systematic abuse. "Recommendations?" Velnara asked. "Deploy the quantum planet killers. Destroy every world where humans have gained control. Acceptable losses include all loyal hegemony citizens on those worlds. And if the humans capture those weapons?" Krixvol's crystalline form dimmed. "Then we face extinction." The vote was close, but fear won over logic. The hegemony authorized the use of their most devastating weapons rather than accept the possibility of human victory. But they had made one critical error in their desperation. The quantum planet killers were controlled by the same quantum networks that humans had been infiltrating for hours. When the weapons were activated, human operators were ready. Lee Dae-ho watched from his command ship as the massive hegemony dreadnought World Ender powered up its planet-killing weapon and aimed it at Kepler 442b. For a moment, he felt the same helplessness he had experienced during Earth's fall. Then Choi Hyun-woo's voice crackled over the quantum communicator. "Dae-ho, I'm reading the weapons activation sequence. Can you interface with their targeting system?" "Already on it," replied Ji-hai from the factory complex. Her team had built quantum interface devices based on Min-Su's designs. "Targeting solution acquired. The weapon is now under our control." The World Ender fired its planet-killing beam, not at the liberated mining world, but at the hegemony fleet surrounding it. The aliens' ultimate weapon became the instrument of their own destruction. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out, as humans turned superweapons against their creators. The cascade effect had become an avalanche, and nothing could stop it now. The hunters had become the hunted. The slaves had become the masters, and humanity was just getting started. The final assault on Veltar Prime began at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. Lee Dae-ho commanded a liberation fleet of 300 ships, some captured from the hegemony, others built in the free human factories using Min Su's advanced designs. The irony was perfect. They were about to conquer the aliens' capital world, using the aliens' own technology, improved by human engineering. "All ships, this is Admiral Lee Dae-ho," he broadcast as the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. "Today we finish what they started 4 years ago. Today we show the galaxy that chains can be broken and freedom can be won. The orbital defenses of Veltar Prime were formidable. Quantum shields, planet-killer satellites, and a defense fleet of over 1,000 ships. But the hegemony had made a critical error. Most of their defense systems were automated, controlled, by quantum computers that human minds could interface with directly. Choi Hyun-woo, aboard the captured flagship Unbreakable Will, led the electronic assault. His consciousness merged with the planet's quantum networks, flowing through digital pathways like water through cracks in stone. One by one, he turned the defense systems against their creators. "Orbital Platform 7, you are now under liberation. Control," he reported calmly, as another massive weapons array began firing on hegemony ships instead of human ones. On the planet's surface, Kim Na-ri led the ground assault with 10,000 liberation fighters, humans and freed aliens working, together as a unified army. They had learned much about urban combat during 4 years of gladiator fights and resistance operations. The crystalline towers of Veltar Prime were designed to be beautiful, not defensible. Their smooth surfaces offered no cover, but they also meant that the alien defenders had nowhere to hide when human forces attacked with captured energy weapons. "Building secured," Nari reported as her team took control of another government complex. "Moving toward the Hegemony Council chambers." The battle for the capital was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. This wasn't just military conquest, it was a revolution. Across the planet, enslaved workers of dozens of species rose up to join the human liberation forces. The hegemony had oppressed so many peoples for so long that their own capital was full of potential rebels. In the Quantum Palace where the Hegemony Council met, panic had replaced the arrogance of centuries. Fleet Admiral Krixvol watched his defense fleets being systematically destroyed by weapons that should have been defending them. "How are they doing this?" demanded Councillor Velnara, as another orbital platform turned its guns on the capital city's government district. "The humans can interface directly with our quantum systems," Krixvol replied. "We taught them to fix our machines, and now they control our machines better than we do. Every system we've built over the past 1,000 years is now a weapon in their hands." "Then we'll fight them without technology," Velnara declared. "Crystalline against flesh. We're stronger than they are." "No," said a new voice from the chamber entrance. "You're not." Kim Na-ri stood in the doorway, her liberation army behind her. Her simple human combat armor was scarred from 4 years of gladiator battles, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had never truly been defeated. "I fought hundreds of your warriors," she continued, walking into the chamber, "in your arenas, for your entertainment. You're strong, but you're predictable. You rely on superior technology and numbers to win your battles. When those advantages are gone, you have nothing left." The crystalline guards moved to protect their leaders, but Nari's fighters were ready. The battle was brief, but decisive. 4 years of learning alien combat techniques had prepared humanity for this moment. Meanwhile, in the quantum core beneath the palace, Choi Hyun-woo was completing the most important task of the war. The hegemony's central computer contained the location and status of every human slave in the galaxy. With this information, Liberation forces could coordinate the freeing of the remaining prisoners. But more than that, the core contained something else: the complete technical specifications for every piece of hegemony technology. Starship designs, weapon blueprints, manufacturing processes that had taken thousands of years to develop. All of it was now available to humanity. "I'm uploading everything to the Liberation Fleet," Hyunwoo reported. "Medical technology, environmental systems, faster-than-light drives, all of it. Humanity will never be technologically inferior again." Above them, Lee Dae-ho was receiving surrender offers from hegemony commanders across the sector. The aliens were beginning to understand that continued resistance was futile. Humans had proven they could turn any alien technology into a weapon, could coordinate across galactic distances, could fight with a determination that centuries of easy conquest had bred out of their enemies. "This is Admiral Lee Dae-ho to all hegemony forces," he broadcast on all channels. "Your leadership has surrendered. Lay down your weapons, and you will be treated according to galactic law. Continue fighting, and you will face the same fate you planned for humanity." The response was swift. Across the galaxy, alien fleets began standing down. The war was over in all but name. In the council chamber, Nari faced the captured hegemony leaders. These crystalline beings had ruled over 1,000 worlds, enslaved dozens of species, and commanded fleets that could destroy entire star systems. Now they cowered before a human woman who had spent 4 years fighting in their arenas. "You have a choice," Nari told them. "You can work with us to build a better galaxy, one based on cooperation instead of domination. Or you can be tried for crimes against every species you've oppressed over the past millennium. What guarantee do we have that you won't simply enslave us in return?" asked Velnara. Nari smiled grimly. "Because we're better than you are, because we know what slavery feels like, and we won't inflict it on others. But make no mistake, the galaxy has changed. Humanity is no longer a victim. We're a galactic power now, and we'll use that power to make sure what happened to Earth never happens to anyone else." 6 months later, the transformation was complete. The former hegemony capital had been renamed Liberation Prime, and it served as the headquarters for the new Galactic Liberation Council. Representatives from dozens of freed species worked together to establish laws that would prevent another empire like the hegemony from ever rising again. Lee Dae-ho had been elected as Earth's first galactic representative, bringing humanity's voice to the interstellar community. His military experience and natural leadership had made him the obvious choice to help shape the new galactic order. Park Min-soo was honored posthumously as the founder of the Human-Alien Technology Exchange, the organization that would share advanced knowledge freely among all species. His sacrifice had not only freed humanity, but had advanced galactic civilization by centuries. Kim Na-ri commanded the new Interstellar Defense Force, a volunteer army dedicated to protecting emerging civilizations from conquest and exploitation. Her gladiator experience had taught her that the strong had a responsibility to protect the weak. Choi Hyun-woo remained aboard the Unbreakable Will, now flagship of humanity's quantum fleet. The ship that had once symbolized alien domination now represented the hope that technology could be used to unite rather than divide the galaxy. And on Earth, the reconstruction continued. The blue planet that had burned 4 years ago was green and growing again. Human children played in gardens where alien bombs had once fallen. Cities rose where there had been ruins. But humanity had learned from their experience. Earth would never again be defenseless. Hidden among the orbital platforms, And peaceful space stations were weapons that could turn any attacking fleet into scrap metal. The galaxy's quantum networks carried human monitoring programs that would detect any threat before it could organize. Humanity had spent 4 years in chains. But those chains had taught them strength, unity, and the value of freedom. They would never forget those lessons. The galaxy was a different place now. One where cooperation had replaced conquest, where technology served all species instead of just the powerful, where the weak could look to the stars without fear. It had taken 4 years in chains to change everything, but sometimes the greatest victories come from the deepest defeats, and sometimes the best teachers are the worst enemies. Humanity had learned well, and they would make sure the galaxy never forgot the price of freedom.